Welcome to Next Level Twitter Analytics. My name is Christopher Penn, Chief Data Scientist and co-founder of Trust Insights. Today we're going to be talking about exactly what this presentation says, Next Level Twitter Analytics. Before we begin, you're going to need some prerequisites available to you. These are technical things. This is not your standard, just listen to the person and scroll through the slides. This is a class, and as such, I'm going to have you be following along and doing these same activities if you have the technology available, so that by the time we're done, you might have a full, fleshed out advanced Twitter analytics infrastructure. So you're going to need a Google Analytics account, a Tag Manager account, Data Studio account. We're not going to really touch on Tag Manager. I'm going to assume that you've got it in place and you've got it tracking everything you need on your website. Google Analytics and Google Tag Manager, for the most part, the setup of that stuff is a separate talk entirely. You'll obviously need a Twitter account of some kind. Social scheduling software like Agorapulse would be a good thing to have so that you can actually do some of the scheduling stuff we're going to talk about. And then social media monitoring software. I use TalkWalker. You can use the software of your choice. And of course, you should probably have a spreadsheet, since this is all about analytics, and we're going to be crunching some numbers today. So these are the prerequisites. I will tell you, you'll be doing some math, but no coding, no heavy technical stuff, nothing crazy, no asking you to set up a machine learning model or anything. This is next level, not the most advanced level version of Twitter analytics. So let's get started. When we talk about Twitter analytics, very often we're talking about very basic rudimentary numbers, right? You log into your Twitter analytics and you see, hey, you've got this many impressions and this many followers and this many engagements, and you're like, yay. Problem is, these numbers are pretty disconnected from what the boss wants. And the boss in this case can be your manager, your VP of marketing, your CMO, the CEO, the board of directors, could be even customers. What do they want? Well, to quote Jerry Maguire, show me the money. They want to understand, what is the impact that Twitter is having, that your social media marketing efforts are having on your organization, right? If you are not doing anything that drives real business, all those metrics don't matter, right? You can get 1 million impressions on Twitter, but like the it was about a year ago now that you had this one person with like 2 million followers on Twitter that couldn't sell 36 t-shirts to their followers, right? So looks good, big numbers, no results. This is what the challenge is, and what we want to try and solve today is starting to connect our Twitter efforts to real business outcomes. Why? Why are we in this situation? Why are we having so many problems? Well, part of it is because we are given these baskets of metrics, and these baskets of metrics, they're simplistic, they're disconnected. Twitter itself can only tell you as much as what happens on its service. Google Analytics and your marketing automation software and your CRM are all things that happen downstream away from Twitter. So it can't see those things, and obviously it can't report on them. Even when you're doing things like paid ads, you still just can't see those things. And the reality is, marketers are not necessarily quantitatively inclined. And so particularly folks with less experience tend to just accept the numbers that they're given in whatever software and don't question, well, how would we improve this? How would we make this better? How can we tie this to those business results? And so we kind of go with what we see. And especially when we're trying to do competitive stuff, there's very limited amounts of what you can see a competitor doing. So you default to the lowest common denominator, which tends to be things like, how many followers do you have? There are some really advanced technical ways to ease around that, but that requires like lots of programming. So we're gonna not cover that yet. So how do we fix this problem? How do we get the boss what they want? How do we show them the money? First, we need defined business goals that are trackable in a digital marketing system. So when we talk about things like Twitter, a lot of the times, we set goals like X number of followers or X number of engagements. Those aren't business goals, right? What are the things that are closer to the bottom of the marketing operations funnel? Form fills, leads, people calling, people emailing, people showing up at your store, right? Those are things that would be sort of the top of the marketing funnel, the marketing operations funnel, and maybe even the top of the demand generation funnel. We're starting to get into lead generation and things. We need to have those goals. We need to have them set up and defined clearly in a system that is trackable, right? The systems that I tend to like best for this are things like web analytics, because they are sort of the bridge between everything happening up out of your reach in terms of, like you don't own Twitter, you don't own Facebook, any of those services, and things that are within your reach, which is your website, your marketing automation software, your CRM, your customer service team. Web analytics is, I think, the best glue that ties those things together. And you can use any web analytics package as long as you know the pieces involved. So when we look at the pieces that you need to have in place and working correctly in order to gather this data, you need good data collection, starting at the bottom there. Google Tag Manager is the preferred method, especially with the new version of Google Analytics. It is mandatory now. Adobe, if you're an Adobe shop, you have Adobe Tag Manager. For the processing of the data, Google uses its BigQuery database to unify all of its data and provide it to us. When you set up Google Analytics, particularly the new one, you have the option to turn this feature on. It's not mandatory, but for advanced data analysis, it sure does help. And Adobe, of course, has its own customer data platform. For the data analysis part itself, which is analyzing, understanding what happened, asking questions of our data, developing better questions of our data, we have Google Analytics and, of course, Adobe Analytics. And then for the reporting side of things, how do we communicate our findings? We have Google Data Studio. It's important, particularly, again, in the world with this new version of Google Analytics that just came out in October of 2020, that we delineate and separate these roles. We have each of the systems in place to work with each of these roles. It used to be in the old days that you would just have an analytics package. It would kind of do everything. And now, as marketing matures, as marketing technology matures, we're starting to see these things split up. So you'll want to have these pieces in place and configure correctly. Tag Manager is the way you configure goals now in the new Google Analytics. BigQuery is the database engine behind the scenes. Google Analytics is where you go to explore and ask questions, and Data Studio is where you go to share your findings with others. And we're going to talk about and walk through some examples of how to do this. So let's get started with the analysis process, right? That's the first part of what we're going to do here. I'm going to start with Google Analytics. I'm going to assume that you have some goals and goal values set up, right? That's important. It's important to understand that. So let's go ahead over to admin. And this is my personal website. I want to look at my goals and just make sure that my goals make sense, right? Sort this by conversions. I want people visiting my speaking page. That's a good thing. I want people subscribing to my newsletter. I want people downloading PDFs. Those are all things that are important goals to me. So you need to make sure that the goals that you have set up in Google Analytics reflect real business priorities, right? Because if they don't, then it's kind of silly to be doing this. The other thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to make sure that we are identifying Twitter traffic properly. And to do that, we're going to create a segment. So let's go ahead to segments. Now create a new segment here. And we're just call this Twitter traffic. I'm going to do conditions. I want to identify users, people from Twitter, because people can come back from different sources, but I want to know at the very least if they ever at any point came from Twitter. Now, if you wanted to focus just solely on Twitter traffic and nothing else, you choose settings here instead, sessions here instead. And I want to do source medium. Now, here's the catch. Twitter sends traffic through a couple of different ways. You get traffic from twitter.com, but you also get traffic from Twitter through their link shortener. You've seen this, the t.co. This is their own link shortener they have built in. And we want to make sure that we're accounting for that. So we're going to go ahead and choose source medium. Instead of contains, we're going to choose matches regex, matches regular expression. I'm going to type in Twitter, and then I'm going to type in a pipe, that vertical line, and then t.co. This is going to ensure that I am getting both of those referring sources. We'll go ahead and hit save. And now we have that set up. Now, our first step in our analysis of whether Twitter is doing anything for us at all is to go into our conversions, go to multi-channel funnels, choose assisted conversions. And you get, of course, your usual standard default here. This is not super helpful, so let's go back like 3 months. I think that's a good starting point. Depending on how long your sales cycle is and how frequent you do your social media marketing, you might want to change this to longer or shorter. I'm going to change my look back window all the way to 90 days. Again, trying to take into account anything in the last 90 days that might be relevant to what we're talking about. And now, these channel groupings are not helpful for what we're trying to do. So I want to switch over to source medium. Now we have our different sources and mediums here, and I'm going to click on advanced here, matching regex, and do the exact same thing we did in our segment, t.co. I got Pinterest in there, because I need to obviously go ahead and make some adjustments here, the social media hat. But for the most part, I've got 3 sources here that are definite Twitter sources. Let's go ahead and edit this, and I'm going to put a caret at the top of that. That will say limit only to things that start with the letter T. We'll go back to our segments, by the way, and fix that later. Now we can see t.co, Twitter, and then Twitter. In the last 90 days, I've gotten 3 conversions from Twitter. So Twitter is doing something, right? I'm looking at this and I can see, okay, I've got some kind of conversion that is useful to me, that is helpful to me. If this was 0, I'd have to seriously question, should we be spending a whole lot of time on Twitter? I mean, obviously, maybe have an account and maybe post to it once every so often just to be there. But if there were no conversions here in 90 days, I'd be like, this really isn't working for me. This really isn't working for my company. And I would want to figure out, like, is it worth investing my time to do this? Now, this next thing we want to do is we want to figure out, are we getting traffic from Twitter? So let's go to our audience here. I'm going to go up to our segments. I'm going to add a segment. And where's the segment I just made? Twitter traffic. We're going to go ahead and edit this. Remember, we just found that little thing we need to fix. Twitter, and put that caret there. Okay, terrific. So now, same period of time, going back to August 1, I've gotten 477 visitors to my website from Twitter. Right? That's actually not bad. 3 conversions, so not a great ratio, but less than 1%. But there's a there there, and we've proven that there's a there there by looking at these basic numbers. So that's our first step in our analysis: is this worth doing at all? We've ascertained that it probably is worth doing, but the next question is: are we doing enough to have a statistically valid test? So what I would want to do is set up a testing plan to tweet regularly and frequently around the clock for, 30 days, and then see if any of these numbers, traffic and conversions, increases, goes up, is relevant, right? To do that, let's go ahead and do our social scheduling software. I'm going to use Agorapulse, and going to my publishing lists and into my queues. And for these queues, I have set up around the clock. Every 4 hours, I'm going to be posting. I actually might want to add Saturday and Sunday just to see if, hey, anybody's paying attention on those days. But at the very least, I want this regular, frequent testing plan, because one of the things that people like to do is they like to say, hey, when is the best time to tweet? Well, if you only tweet Tuesdays at noon and you look at your data, guess what? Tuesdays at noon is always going to be the best day. So in a in a testing plan, we want to have regular, frequent testing to look and see if we can generate any kind of traffic. Right, so that's our testing plan. Once we've ascertained Twitter is doing something, set up a testing plan, and then we recheck this data in 30 days and see, did we see an increase or a decrease in our volume here? If we see that Twitter is working for us, the next thing we might want to know is it working? What is it? What is working for us, right? The easiest way to do this, well, the easiest comprehensive way to do this is to go into our reporting. I'm going to go into my reporting here, and you can use your social scheduling tool. You can also go into Twitter itself, go to your tweets, and export the data this way. This tends to be a bit of a pain sometimes, but let's do this version here first. Right, export by tweet. This also takes quite a bit of time. And what you'll end up with is, or you should end up with, is a spreadsheet. And it'll look something like this. We have the tweet, you have the date, and then you have sort of the engagements here. If you export from Twitter directly, you also get the impression numbers, how many people saw your content. And what we're looking for here, let's go ahead and open up the spreadsheet now that it has finally gotten its act together. You get this lovely, wonderful Excel sheet. I care most about link clicks because we're obviously trying to track Twitter traffic to our website in Google Analytics. So if I sort this here by URL clicks, I get a sense of these are the pieces of content that got the most clicks. What are they about? What are the things? Can I ascertain what are these things about? Now, this is my personal account, so there's a bunch of political stuff that got decent clicks here, and then we see something from a conference, Google My Business stuff, some previously mentioned things. So you can see that I can ascertain just from this report alone, these are some of the things that get me those clicks that I care about, that generate traffic. It may not be to my website, but at least I can see what's generating traffic. You can perform the same exact analysis if you want to see like what Twitter thinks resonates with your audience by sorting by impressions. How many people saw the thing? How many people showed the thing? Again, looking through here, seeing what content just got seen by people. I can do by all engagements. And again, this is stuff that you're using to try and ascertain if Twitter's working for you, what should I be doing more of? Now, here's the fun-ish part. If you have social media monitoring software, like TalkWalker, for example, you can take a competitor's publicly available data from here and export it into, again, a very, very large spreadsheet. And the very, very large spreadsheet will give us a sense of what are our competitors' top content and how much engagement are they getting. This will give us, again, insights as to, are we doing the right things? Are we sharing the right things? Let's go ahead and go all the way over to engagement, sort. And this is about 1,000, I think, pieces of content. Go back over here to the beginning of the file and expand it. And now we can see what are the pieces of content that our competitors rank for. Can we qualitatively just go through, give them a read and see like what are the topics, trends. This is all, obviously, this is Gartner Incorporated, but a ton of trend-based stuff. So we can see with their audience, they're getting decent engagement on their stuff from topics about trends. What does that mean for us? That means that we need to then go back to our own Twitter analytics, right? And say, okay, are we seeing similar levels of engagement for similar trend stuff? Or do we have trend stuff that we're sharing that isn't working for us? The answer is, in my particular account, maybe I need to do some more trend stuff because they're getting the juice for it and I'm not. So that covers the analysis portion of how do we think about Twitter? How do we analyze it to understand what's working, what's not? Looking at engagement, looking at commonalities, looking at the stuff that we do that generates the traffic that we care about. And we've already now tied back to, with Google Analytics being set up correctly, tying back our Twitter data to real business results, leads generated, forms filled, goals achieved in Google Analytics. That proves that value. The next thing we want to do is how do we communicate some of this information to our stakeholders? The answer is not the process we just went through, because nobody's going to sit through that, right? That is just so unpleasant. What we want to do is we want to bring some of this data together as a way of showcasing here's everything that we're doing with Twitter in one location. And to do that, we're going to do that in Google's Data Studio. Data Studio is Google's visualization suite. It is fantastic. It is very, very powerful. And it is relatively easy to do. So let's go ahead and call this our Twitter dashboard. Now, we've already ascertained the things that matter, right? Goal completions from Twitter. So we should make that our headline. Let's go ahead and make sure we've got our data source. I want to make sure, yep, I've got my Google Analytics data source set up here and ready to go. Let's go ahead and add in a scorecard. And I'm going to have an accompanying. Let's also add in some controls. We're going to need a date range control because it's always an important thing to have. All right, and let's add in a drop. Actually, no, it's not. Let's just keep this simple. So we have our scorecard here. And this is, I'm going to do that all users. So there's my users number. I like having a period over period comparison. So I'm going to choose previous period. I'm going to add in my Google Analytics segment. So we just did Twitter traffic. Add this to the report. All right, and now we have a really nice little headline widget. How much traffic did we get? I'm going to copy this, just copy and paste. And now I want goal completions. Notice the Twitter traffic is still on. We have goal completions, 8 goal completions. Great. Okay. And it might not be bad to have a little bit of a visualization for these things. So let's go ahead and take this again. Let's also rename this. I'm going to rename this as well. That way when someone else is looking at it, they can understand what it is we're doing here. I'm going to copy this traffic widget here. I'm going to change my chart style from scorecard to line graph. Beef this up a little bit. I'm going to take my conversions, do exactly the same thing. Try and make it close to the same size. All right, now we've got a really nice basic dashboard of understanding what is Twitter doing for us. Let's make this look a little bit cleaner here. A little easier to see. Great. So now we've got a very basic, simple dashboard to understand what is Twitter doing for us. Maybe make this a little bit nicer here. Okay, next thing we want to do is people love doing that whole what's the best time to do. And we saw there's enough Twitter traffic that we can see what are the best times to be pulling together some of this traffic. So I'm going to take my scorecard widget, I'm going to copy it again. Right, again, notice that segment is still there. And now I'm going to turn this into a pivot table with a heat map. Let's go ahead and make this a little bit bigger, and by a little bit I mean a lot. Let me take up half the page here. Close this up. And now I want to do, let's see, hour of day as our rows, right? And now next I want to do, actually let's do hour. There we go. Good. So there's our hour. And I'm going to have the table sort on hour so that it's properly aligned in ascending order. Next, I want to do day of week. And that's going to be my column dimension. And let's make this we're going to sort the columns by day of week name in ascending order. Okay. That I did alphabetically. That's not right. All right, we'll have to figure that formatting on that out in a bit. Now, if I expand this a little bit, I should have all my days a week. And from here, this heat map tells me what is the best time from a perspective of where are we getting Twitter traffic from by day of week, by hour of day. This is from Google Analytics, right? So now I've gone ahead. I've basically been able to ascertain this is when I'm getting traffic and what times of day. So I have my testing plan in place, right? And by the way, having that testing plan with those cues, around the clock, is how we can rely on this test. Because if I'm sharing content all around the clock, I should be able to see, at 12 a.m. Am I getting anything? Yeah, Wednesdays I am. Am I getting anything? When am I really getting stuff? Tuesdays at 3 p.m. Let's go ahead and switch out of edit mode to view mode here. Okay, I'm getting 27 visits there, 19 visits 4 p.m. on Tuesdays. Interesting. Now, if I want to get really fancy and I want to get a better understanding of this traffic, instead of just looking at the heat map, we could create an interaction grid. So let's go ahead and start a new page. And we're going to do, again, a very simple chart. Let's do a table with a heat map, because I like tables and heat maps. And we're going to do our users as our metric. And our dimension is going to be hour of day. And now we see we have the users and the hour of day when we got the most traffic. If we want to, we can just switch this down to hour. And we have day of week. So let's go back. I think I used the wrong day on the previous page. Let's, instead of day of week name, let's change that to day of week. There we go. And now that sorts properly now. So it's in correct order. So make sure that's day of week. Okay, let's go back to page 2, which is where we were previously. And we have our hour of day and day of week. And we have everything split out. And we want to make sure that in this case, we are also adding back in that Google Analytics segment, Twitter traffic. And we should have exactly the same information that we started with, right? Which is from the previous page. So let's fit this to data. So we have the number of users, hour, and the day of week. Click on this interaction filter. That's going to be important. Let's go ahead and also best practice, put our date control in. And now we're going to create a second table. Let's actually shrink this down a bit because we don't need this much real estate. We're going to create a second table. Let's do some bars. We have page title and we have users. Now let's make sure that this is, let's make this 20, just to keep it a little cleaner. Add in our summary row at the bottom, always a good idea. Okay, and again, make sure interaction filter is turned on. And let's name this Twitter Content Deep Dive. Switch to view mode. Now, here's what we've done. We've created these two tables that are both interactive, that will change based on what you do with these things. So I'm going to go ahead and actually click on this Tuesday at 3 p.m. to see what content on that Tuesday was the most popular from Twitter. So I've got my Twitter segment here. Let's go ahead and see if this processes correctly. Oh, did I put the segment on? I don't think I did. We need to also make sure the segment is on the table as well. I did not. I forgot the segment. Let's add that segment in there so we restrain it to Twitter traffic. I also kind of want to have numbers on those bars. Those bars don't seem super helpful without numbers. Okay. Good. Now back to view. So now if I tap on the Tuesday and those 27 users, I should see, indeed, which pages on that Tuesday were the most popular. So now I'm getting a deep dive into my content from Twitter traffic as to what resonated most, which in this case was definitely when to switch to Google Analytics 4. Let's choose a different day. Let's look at Friday. My lunchtime pandemic reading was the most popular at Friday, so I know I've got some content there that's working for me. So what we've done in our reporting is we've taken all of the findings, the analysis that we did in Google Analytics, and boiled it down for people, made it easier for people to deal with. Let's go ahead and choose our date range here. Let's choose last 30 days. And in doing so, we've vastly simplified how much information we hand to stakeholders about Twitter in a way that is aligned with those goals. Remember, this is what our stakeholders really care about. How many conversions did Twitter generate? You could even put in the goal value if you want to put a dollar amount on here, assuming that you had that set up in Google Analytics. So we've got that. We've got our Twitter traffic, so we can see how we're doing. We're generating actually a decent amount of traffic, 116% up in the last 30 days. And we can see the days of the week and the times of day that we're getting that traffic. When we want to dig in to investigate more, we can look at the day of week and the time of day and then see what exact content on our website is generating that traffic. So this is a really powerful way to quickly and easily communicate the value of Twitter. So we've covered that, we covered the reporting. Let's talk about a couple more things. When you start moving to this style of analytics, results-based analytics, you are going to get some resistance. You are going to get resistance from people who like the older, easier, fluffier, less business-focused metrics. Why? Because they're easy, right? They're easy, and to be frank, they're easier to make look good, as opposed to conversions. How many people did the thing we care about? Where will this come from? One will come from agencies. Your agencies will push back hard on this because a lot of agencies are not used to working on results-based stuff, right? They're used to generating big numbers, big impressions, 1 billion impressions from this campaign, and your bank account's still empty. So you'll get very hard pushback from agencies. If you find an agency is like, oh yeah, definitely measured by conversions, we're happy to have our stuff measured by conversions, then you've got a rare agency. Hold on to them. They're above average. Most agencies will be like, well, no, we want to report on new followers and things. Yeah, but that doesn't put money in the bank or even come close to it. So you'll get some of that pushback. And the second pushback you'll get is from people internally in your company for the same reasons. You'll get feedback from stakeholders saying, yeah, we need to show the board of directors some big numbers. We need to show some solid growth. And picking those easy numbers like impressions and stuff looks good on a board report. Does it mean anything? No. Does it put money in the bank? No. But people love them. People love them, and so you will get pushback from both of those groups. If you get strong enough pushback, or you just have that person who says, this is the way it's going to be, then you say, okay, great, here's what we're going to do. We will report in our dashboards whatever metrics you want to present, but we're also going to have our own dashboard internally so we can measure the real impact of what Twitter is doing for us. We want to know, hey, I want to focus just on conversions for optimizing content, right? Once you do that, then it's like, all right, you can start to navigate getting away from the fluffy big numbers that make everyone feel good to the things that are going to get you that bonus at the end of the year. So we've covered a lot in the last almost 40 minutes, from why Twitter metrics generally aren't helpful, as we've been doing them, the more impactful way of doing it by measuring things like goal conversions in our web analytics, how to determine if Twitter is doing anything for you at all, setting up a testing plan in your scheduling software, getting competitive data from social media monitoring software, and then analyzing that data to see what are the commonalities of the things that work that you should do more of. And finally, we set up an advanced dashboard that boils down everything and communicates it very clearly to stakeholders and lets you dig deeper into any particular piece of content to see why you are getting traffic from Twitter. So if you've got questions, leave them in the comments box here and stuff, or join our free Slack group. Go over to trustinsights.ai/analytics for marketers. Again, trustinsights.ai/analytics for marketers. It's our free Slack group, 1,400 people as of the time of this recording, all in there talking about analytics and marketing, asking questions, getting their questions answered. Not just about Twitter, but all marketing analytics. It's a lot of fun. It's a great community. And again, it's totally free. It's a way to keep in touch long after this talk is over. Thank you for watching and for paying attention today. I hope that you got something out of it. I hope that you have paused this video, or you're going to rewind it and watch pieces again and follow along as we do stuff so that you get a chance to build this for yourself. As always, you can reach me. My contact information is here. Pop on over to the Trust Insights website and talk to you soon. Take care. Want help solving your company's data, analytics, and digital marketing problems? Visit trustinsights.ai today and let us know how we can help you.